I think the next scene is the one with Sun on Sun, to which I'm gonna skip. But anyway, we're staying here. And we'll do this scene that has been here for a couple of routes. As I was thinking that the day had passed and night had fallen.
部屋にいるのか？入ってもいいか？
Harada? Sure, that's fine.
よ、悪いな、いきなり来ちまって。
いや、いてくれてよかったぜ。このまま佐野と二人だけってのはもう飽き飽きだからな。
何言ってやがる。飽き飽きしてんのがてめえだけだとでも思ってんのか？
Is there something wrong?
話し相手になってもらおうと思ってよ。何しろまともに話ができる相手がいなくて。
What do you mean? There are people everywhere.
俺たちの立場が立場だろ。部下の前で愚痴なんて聞かせるわけにはいかねえし。そもそも大使自体減っちまったし、他の幹部大使もいろいろ忙しいみてえだしな。
Oh, I see.
そもそも近藤さんや土方さんがいけねえんだよ。
また始まったか。
羅刹隊なんてよ、あんなもんいつまで使い続けるつもりなんだ？
So Nagakura had something to get off his chest about the Fury Corps. Now, I understood why they couldn't talk about it with anyone. The people who knew about it were the people they blamed, and it was a secret to everyone else.
そりゃ俺だって平助には生きてて欲しかったけどよ。だからってあんな方法で生かすなんて残酷だと思わねえか？
Well, yes, I suppose.
こんな時代に腰に大小刺してんだ。相手を切ることもありゃ、てめえが切られちまうこともある。そんぐらいは覚悟してるさ。だからってここはよ、死ぬことすら許されねえのかってな。
お前の気持ちはわかるけどよ、ちと言い過ぎじゃねえか。近藤さんや土方さんにもいろいろと考えはあるんだろうしな。
その考えっつうのはなんだ？この後に及んで大名になりてえとか城を持ちてえなんて抜かすんじゃねえだろうな。
そりゃまあ、近藤さんを本物の侍にするっつうのがあの人たちの夢だったんだろうし
な。なんだよ佐野、近藤さんたちをかばうつもりか？昔からの夢って大義名分がありゃ落ち水なんかに手を出してもいいってのかよ。
そうは言ってねえだろう。ただ近藤さんたちの立場もわかるって言ってるんだよ。
なんだよ、話にならねえな。シラフじゃやってられねえ。島原にでも出かけてくる。
Nagakura leapt up and stormed out through the door, fuming. He stormed off so briskly that the candle in my room blew out. My room fell dark, and I heard Harada sigh a little. Oh no, what should I do about Nagakura?
ほっとけほっとけ。さすがに島原で羅刹や落ち水の話をするほど考えなしでもねえだろう。
But
まあ、あいつは見ての通りいいやつだからよ。だからこそ許せねえことが多いんだろうな。
I think Harada's right. I mean, even seeing Sun on Sun earlier this afternoon, it just feels like the Shinsengumi is slowly changing. Can I ask you one thing?
なんだ？
Harada, what do you think about the Furies?
そうだな。
His sigh made his bangs flow atop his brow.
さっき新八が言ってたこともわからねえわけじゃねえんだ。
I don't know why I love this shot of Harada. Ah, no, it.
さっき新八が言ってたこと
Rewind.
もわからん。さっき新八が言ってたこともわからねえわけじゃねえんだ。死んじまうはずだったやつを無理やり生かして人じゃねえもんにしちまって、そりゃ確かに間違ってると思うさ。だがあの薬がなきゃ英介のやつが死んじまってたのは確かだからな。それに近藤さんや土方さんの気持ちもわからねえわけじゃねえ。もし新選組がなくなっちまったら、幕府に見限られちまったら、近藤さんや土方さんは侍じゃなくなっちまうかもしれねえからな。あの人たちにとっちゃ新選組以外の生き方なんてねえんだろう、きっと。新八はもともと武家の出身だから近藤さんたちの気持ちなんてわからねえのかもしれねえが。
So, are you saying what it's keeping everyone together is now weakening?
どうかな。そもそも同じ夢を見てたわけじゃなく、最初から違ってたのかもしれねえぜ。同じ場所を目指してるってそれぞれが勝手に思い込んでただけでな。なんつうかしょうがねえことだっていうのは分かってるが、楽しい時期があったからこそ辛いもんだな。
Harada was always so kind and mature and dependable. No matter to whom he was speaking, he always had their best interest in mind. And because Harada understood where Kondo-san and Hijikata-san were coming from, it might have been even harder for him.
悪いな。新八だけじゃなく俺の愚痴まで聞かせちまって。
Oh, please, I don't mind. It makes me happy if I can help in any way, so please, don't worry about me. I can't really do anything else.
あのよ、
What is it?
そうやって自分を卑下する癖はやめた方がいいぜ。何もできねえからここにいちゃいけねえわけじゃねえだろ。そもそもお前は無理やりここに軟禁されてた立場なんだしな。
He reached his hand tenderly towards my head and patted the top of it.
少なくとも俺は今お前に話を聞いてもらって心の使いが取れたぜ。何もできなくても誰かがそばにいてくれるだけで気持ちが楽になることはあるんだ。
Really? His words were so kind. Could I trust them?
俺は平然と嘘をつけるほど器用じゃねえよ。知ってるだろうが。
Yeah, because you're a piss poor liar, Harada. We all know it. I know, but...
さて、あんまり長居するのもなんだし、そろそろ退散させてもらうぜ。
Oh, sure. Thank you so much.
礼を言うのは俺の方だろう。そんじゃおやすみ。
He patted my head a few times. And he left my room. My room fell silent again. If Harada was ever faced with a situation where he had to decide to drink the serum or not, I wonder what he would do. Would he drink the water of life just like Heisuke did? Well, we're gonna find out this route. The Shinsengumi, once solid, now wavered. What would happen to them? What would happen to the Fury Corps? Men were forced to watch as their friends became the undead monsters known as Furies. Was it any wonder that they found themselves conflicted, or that tempers began to rise? Several days later, the order was given to begin the imperial restoration. The emperor would be restored to power, and his court would once again rule the nation. The position of shogun would be abolished, and Kyo's military and judiciary commissioners' positions would be eliminated. All that the Shinsengumi had fought for and believed in was falling to pieces. And we have reached Chapter 5. Oh, you're here. December 1867. As its order to begin imperial restoration came, the Sacho troops started occupying the city of Kyo. At the same time, members and affiliates of the Tokugawa shogunate were being removed from the imperial palace, and eventually Kyo altogether. They, as expected, did not take this lightly. In response, the shogunate's military forces were beginning to march from Edo to Kyo. As tensions rose from the approaching shogunate armies, the Sacho were preparing their own forces for a hostile confrontation. The situation was growing increasingly frenzied. As the shogunate scrambled to call upon their remaining allies, the Shinsengumi received an order to come to the Fushimi magistrate. Having all of their men and armaments gathered in, the Fushimi magistrate enabled the shogunate to act in the event of an emergency. So off we went. On one such day, during the commotion,
Oi, 大変だ! 近藤局長が何者かに狙撃されたぞ!
Oh, so we are going here, alright. Bad news was delivered to the Fushimi magistrate. There had been no witnesses and the culprit escaped unseen. Their motives could only be guessed.
ふざけんじゃねえ! 誰が撃ちやがったんだ! 行くぞ! 手の空いてるやつは俺についてこい!
Nagakura got a crew of warriors together and they all headed towards the location where Kondo-san was shot. Kondo-san was shot in the right shoulder. The bullet pierced clean through him, shattering the bone, which required more treatment than I could have given him at the compounds. The Sacho troops who gathered in Kyo began fortifying their base within the imperial palace. It seemed to be a warning call to all. An assertive declaration that they believed themselves to be true imperial troops. In response, shogunate forces began assembling their powers throughout the Toba Channel in Kyo. The Fushimi magistrate as well were preparing for a war that could have come at any moment. A few days had passed since Kono-san was shot, and the mood in the magistrate's office was tense. The warriors scrambled, spending day after day to identify who may have been the culprit.
薩摩の奴らめ、許せねえ! 連中を今日から叩き出してやろうぜ!
I'd never seen the men so angry, although it was certainly understandable. Every man in the Shinsengumi looked up to Kondo-san, and it was hard not to like him. Still, I felt uncomfortable. Harada.
いや、年の瀬だってのにえらいことになっちまったな。
He was trying to act cheerful, but even I could see he was feeling down.
お前、近藤さんの怪我の様子を見に行ってたんだろう。どうだった？ 山崎からは右肩を怪我したらしいって聞いたが。
Well, his wound isn't life-threatening, but the scar it left is going to be pretty deep. He may contact a high fever. From what I'd heard, Hijikata-san and Yamazaki-san are currently discussing what their plan of action will be in the near future.
そっか。近藤さんも災難だよな、こんな時期に。
I know. For the leader of a group of men like the Shinsengumi, Kono-san was exceptionally kind. It hardly seemed fair that someone like that should be hurt so badly. I understood how the rest of the soldiers felt. Did they catch the shooter? Was it the Choshu?
近藤さんが撃たれたって知らせが届いてすぐ、新八が現場に駆けつけたらしいんだが、手がかり一つ見つからなかったらしい。目撃者もいなかったってことだ。厄介なことになってきたな。
For a leader to get shot just as we're about to go to war.
いや、そういうことじゃねえんだ。もちろん敵の動きも気がかりだが、今はなんつうか身内の方が危なっかしい感じなんだよな。
What is it then?
俺たちは一体何のために戦ってるんだろうな。薩長の奴らは長いこと幕府に冷や飯を食わされてた異種返しのためなんだろうが、俺たちの側はどうなんだろうってちと考えちまってな。
Well, aren't we all fighting for the shogunate?
まあ近藤さんあたりは今でも幕府を守るために戦ってるんだろうが、もともとは俺たちそういう集まりじゃなかったような気がするんだよな。
You mean the Shinsengumi? I hadn't thought of it before, but I knew almost nothing about who the captains had been before they came to Kyo, or why they'd come.
もしかしたら前に話したことがあるかもしれねえが、俺腹を詰めたことがあるんだ。若い頃揉め事を起こしちまってな。今も気が長え方じゃねえが、若い頃の俺は今よりもっと短気だな。売り言葉に買い言葉で腹を詰めることになっちまって。だけど何の因果かこうやって生き残っちまった。その時の騒ぎで故郷にいられなくなって江戸まで流れ着いたんだ。そこで近藤さんや土方さんと会ったんだが、当時は門弟もろくにいなくて食っていくのにすら困ってる貧乏道場だったんだぜ。
Really? But they've killed so many Ronin. Okita especially was so good with a sword that it was hard to believe he was even human. I would have thought a dojo full of such powerful warriors would have flourished.
江戸には他にも有名な道場がたくさんあったし、農家のおっさんが桑振ってるみてえな剣術は流行らなかったんだよ。それなのに俺なんかを居候させて、みんなどんだけ人がいいんだろうな。だが今日に来てからは幕府から禄をもらえる身分になって、近藤さんたちにも金の面じゃ迷惑かけずに済むようになったし、なんだかんだ言って町の人を守る役目だろう。ようやく胸を張れる仕事ができるようになって嬉しかったのを覚えてるぜ。
Harada. I could see where he was coming from. For example, during the Ikeda incident, if the Shinsengumi men weren't there, then Kyo would have been under flames and claimed many, many lives. They really look after the citizens of Kyo. It was clear to see how much pride they had for their duties and for each other.
流れで幕臣になっちまって幕府側について戦わなきゃならねえってことはわかるんだが、人間なかなか割り切れるもんじゃねえよな。
If I wasn't mistaken, Harada was probably talking about Heisuke, whom he'd really thought of as a brother becoming a fury, which must have hurt him. Official research performed on the water life was mandated directly from the shogunate. I think Harada was wondering how long he could have continued to support the shogunate despite feeling opposed to the actions of the shogunate.
だがまあこうなっちまった以上は近藤さんの仇を討たなきゃならねえんだろうな。俺は今まで守ってきた今日を戦場にしてまで偉くなりてえとは思わねえんだが。
Harada. In his mind, there were no complicated rules regarding his relationship to the shogunate and imperial court. All he wanted was to be useful and for his friends to be happy. That was why he came to Kyo in the first place, but now he found himself about to dive headfirst into a war that would tear apart the city he worked so hard to protect. What could I possibly say to him? He seemed to guess what I was thinking and gave me a worse smile.
ダメだな。ごちゃごちゃ考えるのはどうも性に合わねえ。もう少し単純に考えてみねえか。
Chill?
ああ、今の自分が堂々と胸を張っていられるか。やましさなんて抱かずにお天道さんの下を歩けるかってな。今の新選組にそれができるやつが何人いるかはわからね
えが。How could I answer that? It's hard to say. I think it's hard to say. I mean, sure, we all had more fun before all of this started, but right now our country's in a tough spot. Trying to live in the past isn't really going to help anyone. And I know that I wasn't exactly considered a member of the Shinsengumi. I never risked my life to keep Kyo safe like they all had. It was the only coincidence that had brought me to them. It was only coincidence that had brought me to them, and I was only alive and safe because they had protected me.
悪い。酷な質問だったな。さっきの話は忘れてくれ。戦の話なんて女に聞かせることじゃねえよな。
What? No, don't say that. True, I might not know very much about politics and war and all that stuff, but I'm always happy to listen. Maybe I can help that way.
バカ、そういうことじゃねえよ。
He grinned and ruffled my hair with a single huge hand.
女のお前がこんなことに頭を悩ませてんのがそもそもの間違いだって言ってるんだ。女が戦の場で役に立ちてえなんて思うもんじゃねえよ。もともとお前は死を覚悟して入ってきた他の大使とは違うんだしな。
Whoops. Harada's words seemed really curt, but in fact were quite kind and warm in response. It was gruff, but there was kindness in it. And the sincerity of his tone still made me happy. Wait, what? It was gruff, but there was kindness in it. And the sincerity of his tone still made me happy.
だけどよ、本来ならお前はもう自由になってもいい頃だと思うんだがな。
Free?
お前が俺たちのところに身を寄せることになったのは親父さんを探すためだろう。あの時は行動さんの知識が必要だったが、今はもうそこまで切羽詰まった状況でもねえし、 薬の研究なら三男さんが進めてる。それに正直言って今の俺たちには行動さんを探してる余裕なんてねえからな。新選組の機密を外に漏らされるんじゃねえかって理由で今までお前を豚書に閉じ込めてきたが、お前がそんなことをするやつじゃねえってことはみんなもう分かってるだろうし。
Harada, you were saying things that I'd been thinking to myself for some time, but I wasn't quite sure how to respond. In the beginning, I had wanted desperately to leave, that was true. But now...
まあ、もし新選組を抜けたくなったらそん時は真っ先に言ってくれ。俺が土方さんに掛け合ってどうとでもしてやるからよ。
He gave me a friendly smack on the back that I hadn't been expecting. It was quite powerful. Harada! What was that?
おお、悪い。力が入りすぎたか。本当にお前がいつまでも俺たちに付き合わなきゃならねえ理由なんてねえんだからな。
Oh, well, thank you.
さてと、そんじゃちょっくら近藤さんの様子でも見に行ってくるか。あの人のことだから大砲で撃たれようとピンピンしてると思うけどな。
Leave the Shinsengumi. I honestly hadn't even thought about it for a long time, but he was right. I wasn't one of them. I was an outsider. There wasn't any reason for me to stay, but if I left, where would I go? We still had no idea where my father was, and as Sen and Kazuma had told me, I was a demon. Could I really go back to my old life knowing that? On the other hand, Kazuma was still after me. If I stayed, he'd be back eventually. And that would mean trouble. What was I going to do?